Hello, everyone, and welcome to our weekly Dev Sync. We'll be sharing updates from the whole team on what we've been doing. A few highlights from last week. We have crossed 4,800 nodes on Gemini 3C, which is exciting, a lot of participants. But we have also launched Gemini 3D on our, more or less for internal testing. And we have already over 50 participants there, mostly ambassadors and some curious members of the community. We will be still working on that for a little bit, and then once ready, we will be announcing that to the wider community. So stay tuned. But code is public, so technically anyone can join. I do have a joke prepared this week for everyone. It says there are two eternal problems in traditional software engineering. First is garbage collection. The second is naming things, and the third one is off by one errors, which is
Definitely
very,
naming
very
things.
true. Yeah. Okay, with that, let's go into updates. Mine will be first. Last week, I was working mostly on archiver improvements because when I was increasing parameters for Consensus 2.3, where pieces are much bigger and we have a lot more data to work with, it was very, very painfully slow. I was basically not able to run a single test without waiting for like 5 to 6 minutes. So with some of the improvements, things are much better. I can run tests within 1 minute, which is awesome. And we've also spent a lot of time with other members of the team debugging Gemini 3D issues, and we have provided a lot of fixes. And there was, towards the end of the week, Substrate and Rust upgrade, which was also eventful. There are still some challenges to resolve, but I hope we will merge it today. As to the plans for this week, I will continue work on Consensus 2.3. Plotting farming will be first, and then there will be the rest. But I think this week should be something functional for us internally to poke around. So that's my plans. Shamil, what about you?
Last week, I mostly analyzed DSN, how it works and how it doesn't. I also introduced, with the help of the team, Subspace Bootstrap node for the DSN infrastructure in order to limit connections and requests impact on some node. I modified a Bootstrap node slightly, and I also almost finished a feature for pausing DSN requests when there is no DSN connection. It will help in some cases. For this week, I will most probably start with profiling the Bootstrap node because it seems that it uses CPU more than it should. And after that, I will continue with the long-running tasks that I have. That's it.
Awesome, Shamil. Thank you. Rahul.
Yeah. So a bit of background. The week before last, I finished working on the block proposal, and we were testing, and we ran into a bunch of issues, mostly with pruning and reorgs, and a lot of that result we saw increased errors, import errors, and related errors. So last week we kind of discussed about that, and this change was kind of a little bit risky because we were reinventing a lot of stuff which is already in Substrate, and we were trying to go around a lot of the existing logic in Substrate. So we decided to experiment with the proposal 2 we had before, which is basically a more isolated change. It modularizes the block request handler in Substrate and lets users to plug in their own block request handler, while we can reuse rest of the Substrate stack. For example, the block announcements and the sync protocol and everything will remain as is. We don't have to touch any of that. We just replace the existing request handler with compact blocks or graphene. So I made a prototype to make it modularized and tested it out. It turned out to be a pretty small change. I could make the change in like a day, and I was able to test it out. It worked fine. So then we discussed and decided to go with proposal 2. And I have like a draft PR, which should eventually go into the upstream Substrate. So using that modularized framework, I started implementing the compact blocks now. I'm kind of midway there, and my plan for this week is to finish the compact block implementation and test it out, and make sure like any upstream changes we propose is good enough to support any future protocol implementation like Graphene and so on. So that is my goal for this week. So finish the compact block implementation, test it out, and maybe get some numbers if possible. So yeah,
Right.
that's it.
I also saw you read the upgraded networking refactoring in Substrate, how they removed or like moved chainsync from the networking. So that might be helpful. I think there will be still some changes on their side.
Yeah, so basically what they're doing is like they're moving the chain sync away from the main protocol handler, but the block request handler appears to be still the same as before.
Yeah, they didn't change too much. They
Yeah.
just like move things for
It's
now.
mostly reorg of the code. So hopefully my changes will be able to merge on top of your change once it goes in without a lot of conflicts. And I can still continue what I'm doing now.
Okay. Lu Cheng, domains and execution.
Yes, the focus of last week was to complete the state transition proof revamp. Now it has been finished. The PRs are pending for the review. Last week, Ning also discovered another issue that the from a block throttling might make the like Tokyo Select Micro like hang forever. So it's fixed by running the actual Prime block processor in another dedicated test. Apart from that, I was primarily debugging the exact issues on our internal like Gemini 3D, which is related to the Prime chain folks. The top priority of this week is to fix this exact issue. And then I'll check the currency usage in our exact staking after the recent substrate upgrade. And then I'll start working on the new kind of fraud proof. Yeah, that's my updates.
Do you expect those fixes for domains to be breaking changes, or will it be compatible?
It will probably be compatible.
Okay. All right, Nin, you're next.
Hi guys. For last week, I working on the domain testing and had found an issue that may cause the executor to hang forever that had fixed by routines. And also I had opened the API to integrate all the existing executor tests with the new testing framework, which is under review now. And I also have working on adding more tests for the bundle validators. Is under still work in progress, and I will continue on this week. And after that, I will add more tests for the fraud proof. And also that I will work on the investigating the foreign tests on the CI that we had just found today. And besides that, I will also like having a talk with Wes to see if I can help with the close domain messaging testing. If there anything I can help, and yeah, that will be my update.
Yeah, looks like you are our in-house testing guru. Everything testing lately. All right, Ved, what about you?
Hey everyone. Last week, the first half of the week was mostly focused on fraud-proof revamp. Working with Lushank, we were able to extract some reusable components that could be reused across primary when verifying fraud proofs and also the regular happy path. Post that, there was a little bit of infra work on the Gemini 3D while Muhammad was working on the DevNet, and some minor changes there, nothing major. And also spend some time on debugging the relayer issues over the weekend, where we were trying to test out the cross-domain transfers, but turns out it was not the relayer issue, but that was mainly because receipts are not even being sent to the system domain. But I did find one issue that we could ideally add in, and there's a PR out there. This week, main focus is working with Ning on testing framework and I was also talking with Jeremy to actually start specification for staking and slashing. We do have some open questions there. Me and Lusheng, we're trying to figure that out this week and get some work done on the tech spec and see if we make any changes there. Apart from that, on the infra side, I think Mohammed would still need some more help from my end on the Gemini 3D ramp up. Hopefully that would be much minimal work for me this week on that end. Yeah, that's pretty much it, my end.
All right, Parth, you're next.
Yeah. So last week, I fixed an issue with codomain extrinsic submission when if codomain contains a palette which is not part of system domain as well as primary runtimes palette, palette, it will crash because the call variant will not be found. Apart from that, I fixed a small issue in Farmer UX that I discovered during testing, pretty minor thing. The codomain extrinsic submission issue was preventing me to integrate the core with relay domain into subspace node. Um, After that is fixed, I opened a PR for core relay domain integration, which is also must. This week's primary goal would be to create a gateway palette to encapsulate the lab client so that we can provide standard interface to relayer as well as the feed palette feed, which is something that we need to write, but that's the idea. And apart from that, I'll be also be integrating with Snowfork relayer just to quickly testing the entire setup out and possibly create a demo.
Okay, demo will be very, very nice.
Yeah.
To finally see how it works. Awesome, thank you. Switching over to product, Serge.
Hi. So last week on the Block Explorer, I was working on the preparation for a new account page. So I added a separate handling for reward events to make queries a little bit faster for account page. For Gemini 2, so we were running out of space on Gemini 2 Squid. So for now, I stopped processing new blocks. Old blocks are still available. We're just not adding new stuff because there is no space, unless we have a decision on the new infrastructure. We will keep it on hold. Also, there was an issue on Gemini 2. I was investigating. Eventually, it was a RPC endpoint issue, and Mohammed helped resolving that. Also, I was working on the implementation of health check service that will expose health statuses for some internal services we use on Block Explorer. And yeah, I already submitted PR. There are some comments, and hopefully I will resolve them this week and start deploying this service. And yeah, there were also some minor changes on the status page. Yeah, and this week, unless there is anything more urgent, I will help Natasha with UI implementation for the new account page. That's all.
Okay, talking about which, Natasha, your turn.
Hello, everyone. In my case, last week, I focused on improvements in the Block Explorer, fixed some issues with a drop-down menu and account filtering in the account page. Also added the export button for list pages to export to Excel files. Also started working on the filtering functionality for those pages as well, and started writing the recovery flow for the Block Explorer. For this week, my goal is to finish the featuring functionality and complete the recovery flow doc, and also add the ability to search by hash on the search. Uh, Search by hash for the blog, events, and string seeks. Currently, we don't have that functionality on the search for the blog explorer. And also start working on the new design for the account page. That would be it for me.
All right. Ivan, what about SDK and related stuff?
Hey everyone. So last week we mainly focused on the providing support for Gemini 3D. So basically updated monorepos like several times for SDK. Also, I was working on the some organization of SDK, so it would be simpler to look through it. Yeah, so it will be so it will have more submodules, etc., etc., etc. So apart from that, I also just published PR related to allowing fetching events, which would allow us to allow CLI to to be sure that, for example, some farmer farmed some exact amount of Subspace coins, so we can print that for users in future. Yeah. As for next week, I will just support Gemini 3D. Yeah, with coming public launch. Yeah, and I'm currently working on the allowing to fetch the block offer. Yeah, with solution from the ZK side. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Özgan.
Hello. Last week, after SDK changes related to Gemini 3D, we released a new version of CLI. Again, the changes made to CLI accordingly. The new version is out, and we have been testing it, I believe, for 3 or 4 days. Everything is going perfectly, which is great news. We had, before that, a bug related to Farmer causing silently exit when it's not in, when it's in verbose mode. The bug is done and PR is merged. I also discovered after messing with monorepo executables that the executable of CLI is not being signed properly for macOS. Again, it is fixed and PR is merged. Also, thanks to Justin, he submitted a PR, I reviewed it. Now we have Discord bot in the repo. Maybe he can talk about it later. And after Jeremy's request, I added steps for CLI release process. I explicitly noted them in our Notion engineering handbook. And right now I'm consuming various reading materials related to Subspace, especially on domains, because it's growing fast and I need to adapt to it to have a better vision on CLI. This week, I will update the KZG article with respect to Alexander's new images. And Ivan and I are working on better user experience for farmed block counts issue. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Özgan. Switching over to research, Daria.
Hey, hello everyone. So last week there have been few revisions and clarifications, and well, nothing new, but mostly just clarifications on the side to make them always in line with implementation. I have been also exploring from the mathematical side of things the way that we could speed up commitment and witness creation, which should help with the archiving and also with farming. No great findings. I found one algorithm that was suggested by the library that we're using. It's faster when it's parallelized, but on single threaded is actually slower, so that's not the case. I have been looking at papers because in general case, the libraries are using for commitment just general point multiplication, which we have a more specific case because we know always what our points are. It's our trusted setup that we actually generate and have, and we know exactly the amount of points that we have. So we could pre-compute some things or make some more efficient choices, but I'm still exploring that path to see what we can have, which there's a lot of literature because snarks also have the same problem of the things being too slow. So that's what I will be looking at, because it's also going to bite us again in farming when we would like to submit a solution. I'm also finishing up the third episode of the Hitchhiker's Guide that I need to hand to Yuan this week for publication. And we are also, me and Chen, going to be meeting with SR Labs to answer all of their questions about our new consensus this week as well.
All right. Next is DevOps updates from Mohammed.
Yeah, hi guys. Just from DevOps, last week I was working on setting up DevNet and just testing out running a Pharma node locally on the servers. Started working with blue-green deployments for the Explorer and Subsquid. That's for the product team, and also working on GitHub runners, customized GitHub runners, so we can improve our pipeline builds and releases, deployments, and feature. And currently working with that, with setting up that up on AWS. That's it from me for now that I'm working on. Yeah.
Sounds interesting. Justin, what do you have to share on the community side?
Yeah, my mic just died. Can everyone hear me okay? Awesome. Alrighty, so on my end, we obviously had last week we had some updates that were put into the documentation. Lazar provided a lot of feedback of various different little things that needed to be improved, so we got that implemented, as well as the new version releases. We also started preparation for our April community event. Currently, the proposal is to be having Daria feature with us for some research discussion, but we're still awaiting approval on that topic from Jeremiah, and we'll be moving forward with planning on that here in the coming days. As Ozgun mentioned, last week we also had the chance to get the release webhook implemented into our CLI repo. So basically, anytime a release is published as the latest release, it will notify our Discord community. And there's also a manual pathway if we want to manually do an announcement through that as well. So hopefully we can test that out in the CLI and start to expand that to like the mono repo and maybe some of our other product repositories down the line as well. Also last week, with the end of Q1, the community team and ecosystem teams taking a lot of time to look back on all of our Q1 goals and kind of just do some retrospectives and see how we've done over the past month and kind of have that after action report mindset. This week's primary goal will be preparing and hosting for Gemini 3D if we're able to continue to move forward, and also finalizing on the April community event preparation. The ecosystem team will also be taking some time to start our Q2 plans and preparation. So we'll be planning out our whole quarter's worth of initiatives and what we want to exactly head over this next quarter on an ecosystem team. That's everything so far on my end. If anyone has any other questions. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Justin. I think everyone noticed that with the introduction of Gemini 3C and now 3D, everything accelerated. We're kind of on the growing productivity trajectory. Very nice to see lots of things happening, and I'm sure next week we'll have even more things. So thanks everyone for watching on YouTube, and we'll see you next week.